The mountain air was sharp and cold, just the way I liked it. My little cabin sat nestled among towering pines, a quiet refuge carved out of the wilderness, away from the city's endless hum and the tyranny of busy lives. When I bought this place, it was supposed to be mine. Just mine. A sanctuary. A spot to breathe, think, and be free. But freedom, it turns out, was a luxury I'd have to fight for. The HOA was a shadow that crept into every corner of the valley. They were supposed to keep things orderly, but what they really did was keep control, like puppeteers pulling strings, eager to squeeze the life out of anyone who dared to live on their own terms. Their leader, Mrs. Karen Bishop, was the kind of woman who wielded her clipboard like a weapon and wore her self-righteousness like a crown. She had that cold, calculated smile, the one that could freeze a river in mid-flow. I met Karen one chilly morning as I unlocked my gate. She was there with two others, standing like sentinels, clipboard in hand, barking orders to a few landscapers. Her eyes locked onto mine like a hawk spotting prey. "You know the rules," she said, voice sharp as a whip. "Your cabin is registered for no more than 6 guests, yet yesterday I received complaints from several neighbors. 100 people, they say, were at your property. This is unacceptable." I blinked. 100 guests? Karen, my place isn't a hotel. There was a small gathering, maybe a dozen people. You're blowing this out of proportion. Karen narrowed her eyes. "I have witnesses, photos, video footage. The HOA board will be convening, and you will be held accountable." That was the moment I knew this was no longer just a feud over property. It was a war. The first time I ever heard about the HOA's twisted logic was when I bought the cabin. I thought it was mine. But mine turned out to be a loosely defined term, confined by rules that bent and twisted with every whim of the HOA's board members. Rules that, if you crossed, meant fines, penalties, or worse, legal action. I tried reasoning with Karen over the next few days. Emails, polite conversations, even a phone call or two. Each time she refused to back down, acting like the queen of a tiny tyrannical kingdom. Then came the official letter, thick with legal jargon, accusing me of hosting an unauthorized event, threatening fines up to $10,000. At first I was frustrated. Then I was furious. How could they think they had the right to dictate what happened on my land, who I invited, how I lived? But Karen's campaign wasn't just about the party. It was about control, power. The HOA was a closed circle, protecting their own interests, and I was an outsider who dared to disturb their carefully curated peace. So I started digging. Late nights spent poring over HOA bylaws, meeting minutes, emails leaked from board members, and quiet conversations with neighbors who whispered about Karen's past, a woman who'd clawed her way to the top through manipulation, threats, and dirty politics. I found the loopholes they missed, the ways they twisted rules to suit their agenda, and I planned my revenge. The day the board sent a cease and desist notice ordering me to cancel any gatherings and restricting access to my cabin, I made my move. I installed a heavy iron gate at the entrance to my property. It was sleek, black, and solid, an unyielding barrier that screamed defiance, a gate with a keypad, controlled by me alone. The day Karen and her minions came to enforce their demands, I was ready. They showed up with their clipboards, cameras, and smug attitudes, expecting to intimidate me. Instead, I pressed the keypad. The gate slid shut with a heavy, final thud. Karen's face twisted in disbelief. "Open this gate now. This is HOA property. You don't have the right." I leaned out of the car window, my smile cold. "Actually, Karen, this is my property, and you don't get to stroll in uninvited anymore." The rest of her minions exchanged worried glances, their confidence cracking under the weight of my refusal. Karen screamed, "You will pay for this. We will take you to court." I just laughed. Good luck with that. Behind the gate, my world was mine again. Karen wasn't one to take defeat lying down. The next morning, a furious email storm landed in my inbox. Threats, demands, warnings about lawsuits and injunctions. The HOA had lawyers ready to pounce, and Karen was spearheading the charge. But something had changed. Neighbors who once nodded politely in passing now stopped to whisper. A few, emboldened, even came by to thank me quietly for standing up to the HOA's tyranny. I wasn't alone. One neighbor, a grizzled old man named Tom, told me stories about how Karen's family had controlled the valley for decades, using the HOA as their personal army. "They'll never stop," he warned, "but you've shaken their throne." Armed with that, I doubled down. I started hosting small, invite-only gatherings. Friends, neighbors, anyone who wanted a break from Karen's oppressive reign. Word spread like wildfire. The cabin became a beacon of resistance, a place where people could breathe freely without fear of surveillance or petty rules. Karen tried everything. She sent inspectors claiming noise violations, filed complaints about parking, even accused me of unauthorized construction. Each time, I fought back with evidence, allies, and the support of neighbors who were tired of living in fear. The battle spilled into town meetings, social media, and legal halls. The HOA tried to bully me, but the more they pushed, the more people rallied. One evening, after a particularly heated HOA board meeting, Karen stormed into my driveway, furious. "You think you're winning? This is just the beginning," she spat. I met her gaze without flinching. "Maybe, but it's the beginning of the end for you." Karen's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then looked up, her face paling. "What's wrong?" I asked. "It's the town council," she muttered. "They're reconsidering the HOA's authority over private properties. Your fight might force a change." That night, I realized my battle wasn't just personal. It was a fight for everyone's right to live without tyranny. Months passed, the HOA's grip weakened, Karen's threats grew desperate, and finally, in a decisive town vote, new laws stripped the HOA of its overreaching powers. Karen Bishop's reign crumbled. Standing by my gate, now a symbol of resistance, I felt a deep satisfaction. They tried to control me, to scare me into submission. Instead, I turned the key and shut the gate in their faces. And in doing so, I opened the door to freedom.